Yeah, Josh, can you just take us through the feeling in the locker room now? Just a disappointing loss for you guys in opening night.
Yeah, I would say so. I think we just, expected to win, expected to be better defensively. I personally let my matchup number 0, score many points. I'll take that to my fault, but I just feel like we should have had a lot more energy defensively. Should have stopped them from scoring more, especially towards the end. And yeah, I'm just disappointed.
What do you attribute to that lack of energy defensively? You guys, is there anything like buying into the hype or anything going into the night? Just kind of what do you see as being some of the reason for tonight?
I don't think there's anything built to the hype. I think we just go stretches. We're playing really hard, and stretches we really lackadaisical. I think if we can just continue to find stretches, playing harder, playing more energetic for a long period of time, then we'll do better.
Obviously, points in the paint was a major category in this one. You guys improved in the second half, kind of holding it back, but still it seemed like it was a tough battle in there. What were you guys seeing?
We just wasn't assignment correct, as coach said. He always tells us we gotta read the scouting report, we gotta know who crashed the board, and who's supposed to get back and things like that. And I don't think we was aggressive enough with our box out, so we let them get too many second chance points.
You guys said yesterday that was kind of a point of emphasis going into tonight's game. Just what was it that you guys weren't doing that wasn't according to your scouting reports?
We wasn't boxing out. Rebounding is something that we still need to work on. And it was our first game. I know we upset that we lost, but it's not the end of the season. But we just gotta we gotta have better practices. We just gotta be more assignment correct.
How much is in that scouting report that you guys get? I mean, it is the first game of the season.
Everything we need, we just gotta follow it.
When you hit the three-pointer, got fouled, extended the lead, I think, to 6 at that point. Were you guys feeling some momentum at that point?
No, because we still wasn't getting stops. Even though we scored, they kept scoring too, so it wasn't really like momentum. It was more like, we got a bucket, but we really worried about stops. We're not really worried about buckets because we can score. We need to work on defense and getting stops.
Did you think you had some opportunities there to put them away, and they just didn't take advantage of it?
Yeah, we had a lot of opportunities to put them away, but we didn't. They got a lot of second chance shots. I didn't really look at this too much, but we probably got out-rebounded, and, that's probably the reason why.
Defensively, did you guys feel like going into tonight that it was probably still going to be a work in progress?
Definitely work in progress all year long, but definitely thought we would, just get a few more stops that we needed towards the end. But it's definitely going to be a work in progress for us and start some practice. So we just got to stay bought into what the coaches are telling us and follow the game plan.
How difficult is it right now? It's pretty much a brand new team, whole bunch of new faces everywhere on the court. Just how much is this early part of the season? Are you guys just going to have to figure out how to play with each other?
I think it's going to take some time. Hopefully, by the time conference starts, we get started getting our groove and starting, to get going. But it's definitely going to take some time. Most of us are transfers coming in, so we haven't really had much time to, see how we plan together. But I think we're definitely moving in the right direction offensively, and I think it'll just take time.
Is that kind of a point of emphasis to get good by Valley season? It's kind of something Coach is crazy with us as well.
Yeah, that's an emphasis. As soon as possible would be good, but I think getting gelling together at the right time during conference would be realistic.
Yeah, wow. We need to look ourselves in the mirror, especially as coaches, and put a better product out on the floor. A little bit more cohesive unit on both ends of the floor, and I think that would be a good place to start in terms of trying to get the result that I'm sure we all would like to get. And I think once we coach them better, then we'll be better. So that's probably my opening statement.
Just points in the paint tonight. It just seems pretty easy for them to get in there. Just what do you see there?
Yeah, obviously I think I probably had the wrong matchups, to be quite honest, because we couldn't keep the ball out of the paint for most of the game, and we emphasized, or we tried to emphasize. I couldn't get them bought into keeping the ball out of the paint. So it's just matchups and schemes, and just not a good enough job. Yep.
Josh Hall mentioned that warm-ups and everything before the game, they were lacking a bit of energy. I think he used the word lackadaisical. I know you're not out there for all the warm-ups, but did you see something from them as well pre-game that bothered you any?
No, I don't see them at all pregame except for in the locker room. I would have to check with the coaches. I mean, I always check. They didn't. This wasn't a warm-up loss game. This was a coach loss game. And if they were lackadaisical in warm-ups, then I need to fix that. You know.
To have the lead for all but 4 minutes of the game and then
Yeah.
lose it right at the very end like that, just how much of a heartbreaker is that for you and just like all the guys?
Well, you know, it would be a heartbreaker if we deserved to win, right? But we as coaches, we did not deserve to win. And I think maybe for our players, they could probably be a little heartbroken. But as coaches, that was not a good enough product for me to be heartbroken. But you typically do win when you lead 36 minutes on your home floor. But we just didn't deserve to win.
Defensively, I know you say some coaching schemes and stuff, but have you seen this preseason that the defense is still a work in progress? You know, the guys said it'll be a work in progress all year, but to get to opening night and be this way.
Well, you know, I mean, we got to defend better. It's always going to be a work in progress, but you know, guarding the ball. I mean, you got to sit down and guard the ball. Checking out and getting one shot. I mean, there's some things that should not have happened tonight that happened, and it's my job to get these guys not to do that. It's really that simple. But we should have defended better tonight than what we had. In terms of have I seen anything yet? I mean, this group has not practiced day in and day out with the consistency to be a good defensive team. But again, I've got to go back and take a look and see why that is. And at the current time, I haven't seen it, so I don't really know. But again, this whole defensive, even in transition, like guys not picking up their right man off of a free throw, that's just coaching, and I've got to get that fixed.
You mentioned that coaching. There was a moment towards the very beginning of the game where Josh Hall had a jumper and he made it, but you didn't exactly seem pleased with that shot. He kind of looked at you, he kind of put his hands out like this. Kind of what was going on with there?
I was worried about him on the other end. If you ever see me mad, it's always defense and rebounding. And I got to do a better job getting this team to believe in that. And obviously we don't believe in that. So I'm upset at myself, number one, and probably showed some frustration towards Josh that maybe I should not have had. But our only offensive woe or problem is either I haven't developed them skillfully enough to be able to make the right reads, or I've got a bad offensive scheme. So I mean, I've got a lot of work to do. But with that particular situation, I was upset because Josh Hall had defensively, in my opinion, without seeing the tape, I thought he was responsible for the first 4 points. Now, maybe I had him in the wrong position, and I've got to check myself in the mirror first.
Coach, you guys were 8 for 28 for 3. Did it seem like a lot of those were good looks? They just didn't fall?
You know, I thought in the first half they were great looks. I thought in the second half, maybe a little bit more questionable ones. We actually made the tougher ones. But the way they defend you, they just clog up the paint. Obviously, we would have liked to establish Tulio and Lamont on the block, especially Tulio. But I mean, they double team you right away. You got to kind of loosen them up a little bit. I think the biggest problem offensively in the second half is when they started to switch their smaller players on our bigger players. We couldn't get the ball to those guys around the basket, and maybe a couple times we settled for some threes. But at the same time, if you're open and you're in rhythm, I think you got to be able to step up and knock that shot in. But a lot of the shot selection things, I really have to watch the tape because it's so many possessions in the game. I can't keep up with all of them. But I do know that from a coaching standpoint, the ball should have went inside a lot more in the second half when they were switching in their defense. And unfortunately, I have been unable to get that figured out.
28-3, something you want to do? I remember last year.
Yeah, you know, with this team, that's probably a lot. But I mean, if you make one more, you know, you win the game, right? So I mean, again, with the shots, I really have to chart those because it could be late shot clock, it could be broken play, it could be a lot of different things. But that starts with me and ends with me, so.
Josh touched on something you've been touching on a little bit throughout the preseason, how you want this team to be getting going around valley play towards the end of the year. Is that something you're preaching? Just, hey, we need to get good by valley play. We have we're trying to get through non-conference.
No, I preach get better every day. I preach don't sacrifice your gift. That's all I preach is take the things that God has given you and do the very best you can with them and let the chips fall where they will. I don't talk to us about anything about the valley. I mean, we have a unbelievably tough non-league schedule. I would be crazy to be worried about January. God's willing, I'm still around in January.
Do you think a loss like this can be good for the guys if they're an off-season pipe? Just motivate them a little more, like, hey, we can get beat any night?
I don't know if it'll be good, but I mean, it's just the truth. It's where we are. I've always said that you can learn the same from a win as opposed to a loss. You never want to lose. But again, maybe this loss is great for me because what I'm selling right now is not being bought. So I got to figure out a way to sell, you know, the right product here. So I don't think that this has too much of an effect on the players.
How much can you try to turn that around, get them to buy into something else by Sunday?
Well, that's what they pay me to do. I better get it figured out. Yes.
With them penetrating the way they did, and then going 3 out of 14 from threes, did you ever contemplate zone at all?
Well,
I know it's still early in the season.
yeah, it's early in the season, but we practice zone every day, but we just did not make that call. I just did not make that call to go zone because I felt like at the end of the day we were still winning. I mean, we were winning the game for 36 minutes, and so I think that would have been a decision because when you play zone, you got to kind of play zone. You can't go one possession, then they scored, and all of a sudden you jump out of it. But maybe that's something that I evaluate as I try to get better for the next game and moving forward, maybe a little bit more zone. But through our scouting, this team was better at zone than they were against man because the way they attack it is in the high post with two big players, double high post, and we just didn't pull that lever. Yep.
With Tulio, I know last year you said that you wanted to limit his minutes and not have him play 37 minutes. Is that the case this year? I mean, just because of Gage being out and things like that?
37 minutes is high. Lamont West, I think, was in foul trouble in the first half. And I do think a coaching error I made in the second half was not playing Kabir Muhammad more. He definitely should have played more. I thought he was fantastic in the first half. And that's a coaching error. Like this whole game was just a big coaching error. And that is, it's a really good question. It's a great question. So yeah, Kabir should have played more, Tulio should have played less.